Hey everybody, it is Ellen Jody, the PLC lead for high school dance on the Godot Communities website. I am coming to you today from the Brookwood Dance Room. As you can see, we're maybe a little messy. That's all right. We're midway through the year, so we can't always keep our rooms perfectly pristine. In our last segment, we talked about a review of our diagnostic, formative, and summative assessments, just what they were and what they might look like in the dance classroom. For the second segment on assessment, I thought we could talk about technique assessments, because that's probably most of what you're doing in your classes, I would assume. I mean, I know we do some dance history, maybe anatomy, stuff like that, but a good portion of your class is going to be up and moving and spent on technique of all kinds of dance. So we will start by talking about a really good assessment that I found. So if you look online, I just literally typed in dance technique assessment, and I found a really good one on there's a school in California called Fullerton, something like that. I just pulled it up so I can look at it and sort of read it to you. I'll put the website on a document or in the discussion feature, so you can just pull it up. So looked really good. They had a bunch of different criteria. So I'll start reading it. So it was technical accuracy and use of turnout or parallel. Now, of course, if you're doing some sort of world dance, or different type of dance other than your Western technique, then of course these will need to be revised. The next one is centering, balance, alignment, and posture. Of course, that would be used for any kind of dance, I would assume. Stamina, flexibility, and strength. We've got spatial awareness and precision of movements. And now this one even goes into turns are strong, controlled, on balance, and with a clean, controlled ending. So that's pretty specific. And this one goes into ballet. In ballet, the allegro work and beats, if applicable. Timing and musicality, quality and dynamics, and then self-expression, sense of performance, concentration, and focus. And then I really liked how they went through each, they had each of the levels. So they put excellent, adequate, good, needs improvement, and I think, just those three. So they were really descriptive in their words of the levels and the criteria. So I thought that was really good for technique. And again, depending on what kind of dance you're doing, if you're doing a world dance, most of these would work for that as well. Obviously the ballet you would take out, but I thought that was a good one. So I will put that website in the discussion. So then just looking at all this got me thinking, do you use rubrics for specific technical things? So do you have a specific rubric for, a tendu, or one for rolling through the spine, which I have one, which I will share with you in a moment? Or do you just generally do overall technique, such as stamina and strength and spatial awareness, what I've just talked about? I think maybe the targeted assessment for, say, a Soda Shah might be really helpful thing for some of your more advanced dancers to really get at the ins and outs of technique and get them the feedback that they need to continue to grow as a dancer. Maybe you have a pirouette rubric or a battement rubric, something like that. So although we could have rubrics for days, if we did it that way. So my example that I have, and I will put this in the documents, is I have one for rolling through the spine, I have one for demi-plie, I have tendu, and I have contraction. And this is basically sort of it would be like maybe the end of a semester for my intro kids. So I have our goal, we have valuable performance, I have moving in the right direction, and drifting, which I talked about in the last segment, are the levels for the rubrics. but I'll just read through one or two of these. So for my rolling through the spine for number 4, for the best, dancer starts with a long spine, made me stand up, articulates through each vertebra, and uses the core when rolling down. Dancer also keeps the weight out of the heels and repeats the process when rolling back up. It is clear that the dancer understands the concept. So I went into pretty much detail there. My Tandu one, still again at level 4. Dancer uses the floor to articulate the metatarsal and into a fully pointed foot. The working leg has a straight knee, and while the toes make contact with the floor, there is no weight on the working leg. The appropriate muscle groups are used. Dancer fully understands concept. So you get the idea. So I've got that. So while we're talking about effective rubrics, I thought it wouldn't hurt to look at an ineffective rubric. So I pulled it off the internet. I have it right here. I'll talk about it in a second. The rubric I'm about to talk about would probably be okay maybe for grading purposes, but it would absolutely give your kids no feedback whatsoever. And that's the purpose of a rubric, right? We want to tell them what we're looking for. They're going to try to achieve it. If they don't achieve it, we're going to give them feedback on the rubric as to why they didn't achieve it. So that's their whole point. So just keep that in mind as you start creating rubrics. You want them to learn and improve from it. So this one had 5 criteria. Criteria was performed choreography the way it was choreographed. Okay. Kept in time with music. Okay. Articulated dance movements and used projection. Again, I just pulled this off the internet. I just saw it and thought it was pretty bad. Or not bad, but just ineffective. Acted appropriately, took performance seriously, covered up mistakes well. I found that one pretty interesting. The dancer's performance compared to the group. Now, I've never done one like that. And then here, this rubric goes from 1 to 4, which I generally like to put it the opposite way. I usually like to start with the 4 or however many count points you're giving, and then go to the least amount of points, just so they start out reading exactly what you're looking for, rather than reading what the lowest points could be. And all these criteria, all they just say is needs much improvement, can improve at least 3/4 of the time, and then all or most of the performance. So point 1 was needs much improvement, then 2 is can improve, 3 is at least 3/4 of the time, and then 4 points all or most of the performance. I mean, it really would be ineffective for feedback, basically. So I just wanted to pull a really good one and then pull a really one that I thought, in my personal or professional opinion, would not be very effective in giving feedback. So the other thing I've done to assess technique is have mid-year conferences with the students. This is time consuming and a little bit tiring for me. I haven't done it for a couple years just because of that. I would bring them in my office. We would sit down, try to make it as stress-free as possible. They all get nervous when, you ask them to come in your office. And then just see where they think they were. Basically a self-assessment without writing things down. It would just be like a one-on-one interview. So I've done that to assess them, and then ask them how they thought they were doing, what they think they can improve upon, and if there was specific issues with a specific student, then, I would definitely address that with them there. Also creating their own rubrics for themselves, which is really cool. I've done it, but not for technique like this. So again, I'm in grad school and I found this great resource. Well, my professor gave me a great resource, and it was talking about assessments, and I'm going to put that link also in the discussion for you. Talking about involving students in the creation process, and how this woman who was talking on the video, it's a video on a website, was talking about just creating the criteria with the students. So sitting down with them and creating the criteria, and not so you would create, where is it? You would create this part, the part that they were going to be graded on, but not fill in the actual levels. That way you save on class time, And then that also gives you a little bit more control. They've been part of it, but you still have a little bit of control on what you want those descriptors to be. So I thought that was a really good idea. So I would love to hear what kind of technique assessments you do. If you have them create their own for themselves, do they work with a partner and create, an assessment for each other and then look at each other in that way? There's so many ways we can assess technique. So I would love to hear back about how you do that. All right. So just talking about technique assessment in this second webinar. Let's spark some conversation on rubrics and assessment for the discussion, and I will see you next time.